What up, friends? The year I was born, and today we're going to be reviewing KONGOS' newest album, 1929, Part 3. This is the 6th album overall by South African rock band KONGOS. KONGOS are one of those bands that produced a few hits, but largely ended up going under the radar. Their biggest single, Come With Me Now, had a lot of airplay back in 2014, and other singles by them, like Take It From Me, also had some decent success, but other than that, they have largely remained indie. The four brothers here had me hooked from their 2012/2014 album Lunatic, and the follow-up album Egomaniac wasn't too shabby either. Their 1929 project, though, while still decent, does not live up to the hype of those previous two records. I reviewed part 1 a while back, even though I kinda don't feel as strongly about it as I did back then, and I didn't end up reviewing part 2, but I largely feel the same way about it as I do part 1. Unfortunately, the vibes are largely the same with part 3 here, as there are some decent tracks on it, but it just kind of feels a bit underwhelming and par for the course in the grand scheme of alternative rock. Terrified, though, is honestly a pretty great opener to the project, having much more of a distinct identity compared to a lot of the other songs in this trilogy. It has that electronic alt-rock and Kwaito influence from an album like Egomaniac, thanks to those gritty riffs and that danceable beat alongside a very anthemic accordion. I love the lighter touch that's present on the chorus, and the beat, like I said, has this danceable approach, but it also has a bit of a melancholic touch as well. It's a pretty interesting combination. The lyrics are also pretty poignant as the boys are realizing that they're getting older, and it kind of addresses all the fears that come with that realization. The next song, though, Speak Free, is probably one of the most underwhelming songs of the project, largely due to how just kind of repetitive and boring it is. It does have kind of a spoken word nature to it, which makes for a sort of interesting change-up. However, I just can't get over how simplistic this sound is and how barren the song feels overall. There's no energy here, and while I guess that kinda ties into the lyrical themes about weaponizing speech and how some people just say too much on places like social media, that doesn't make for a very engaging listen. Madman is a pretty interesting one, though, feeling much more melancholy compared to a lot of the other songs on this album. The addition of the simple clarity of the piano alongside the muffled nature of the bass and guitar was a pretty cool combination. I'm also really digging the rise into that grungy styled chorus. Everything kind of comes together in a really seamless fashion. The hook is a bit simple lyrically, however, instrumentally I really do think it conveys the themes of the song about how the guys here might have been taking their relationships with the people around them for granted. The synth solo on here is also a pretty cool touch that segues into the ending of the track nicely. Far Away is another one that I'm into, feeling like an electronic power ballad that really stands out in the track list. The simple intro is a nice build-up to when the beat really kicks in during the chorus, and I like how this song just gradually rises in scope as it progresses. It has a drive to it, but in a subtle way, and I think the muffled guitars meshing with the beat and the synths really emphasize this. It's almost like it's not an active drive, it's a more nostalgic drive, like you're looking back on your youth when you were young and wild or something. The lyrics also do a pretty good job at portraying this, as the boys are kind of ruminating over this fact and how they're looking back to their home way back when they were kids and kind of the place that they're at now. Never Like This is one of those songs that has a nice idea, but it just goes down a relatively safe path. I like the emphasis on the dark keyboard tones and the funk-driven bass, but not much is really done with them, and the track kind of just becomes your standard KONGOS fare by the time it reaches the chorus. There are also some nice guitar moments on here, but the song overall just kind of comes and goes, and the lyrics are also a bit too vague to really convey much emotion or meaning. Small Talk, on the other hand, is a fun danceable tune with a slick guitar and a beat with some pep behind it. The claps add some fun ambience to the track, and the overall vibe is just very carefree. I also like how the vocals soar and almost combine with the synth at times, too. All of these instrumentals are subtle, but they still have a groove to them, albeit I wish the vocals had a bit more power to them at times. I'm also really digging how the accordion is kind of carrying that vocal tune while the bass and guitar are just jamming out. Fun is really the word that describes this song, honestly, and the lyrics also express that desperation to push through the gloom and just enjoy your time with other people. The ending track, Lord of the Flies, is one of the best songs on the record, I think, with some compelling instrumentals and some nice vocals and lyrics as well. It encompasses the melancholic side of the record very well, I think, with the dark and funky guitar tone and somber piano largely filling up most of this song's instrumental. It almost has the vibes of their song Autocorrect, which I'm a pretty big fan of, and I like the sort of contrast between the fuller, dense moments and the softer, more sparse moments too. The track overall is also still catchy while not sacrificing the somber vibe. The lyrics lamenting about how divided people are and hoping the aliens please reveal themselves before this species goes and offs itself makes for a pretty interesting listen. Overall, like the other parts of this trilogy, it's not a bad record per se, it's just a very safe one. A lot of what's on here feels fairly safe and familiar to what the genre has done before, hell, even to what KONGOS have done before. Not a lot of songs stand out as bad, other than maybe Speak Free, but not a lot of songs stand out as noteworthy either, even among the ones that I liked. Other tracks that I didn't mention in the review worked well enough, but didn't really do anything to stand out either. I did like the sort of sci-fi vibes of Lord of the Flies alongside the gritty dance vibes of Terrified and Small Talk, which might actually be sounds worth pursuing for the band in the future. At the end of the day, it is probably the best of the 1929 trilogy, and it works well enough, it's just not really anything worth writing home about. I'm feeling a light 6 on this newest album by KONGOS. Of course, we do have to talk about album covers on this show, and I think this is a pretty cool one. It's very minimalist, very much my style, you know, it's just the 3 circles of the 3 different colors on the white background, has their logo in the corner, name of the album in the corner. I guess it doesn't exactly fit the album's sound all that well. I mean, this album, as opposed to the other parts in the trilogy, is a bit more modern sounding with the synths and all of that. But I think it's a cool album cover, it's just not exactly that fitting for the record, I guess. But of course, those are just my thoughts on this newest album by KONGOS. What did you guys think? Do you actually think this is the best of the trilogy as well? Actually, maybe some of their best work yet? Or are you thinking some of their other stuff is a bit more fleshed out? Let me know. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell if you're also that old. And until the next one, farewell.